as a mission statement kind of thing, it's like resource acquisition, in this case, Bitcoin, and cooperative economics. That's just where it's at.
I like that.
That's what we want to. That's what we're propagating. That's what we're advocating. That's kind of why we've come together. Not nation, and just sharing of information. But if there's a way in which we can support each other, or work with each other, that's the agenda.
All right. Peace, Justin.
What's going on, Justin? I see. Yeah. What's good? What's up? What's up?
It's Leif. What's going on, Leif?
Leif, how you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Good, good.
Peace, brother.
Hey, picking up my mom for right now, but I'm ready to go in whenever.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get ready for work in a second because I work a third shift too. But I'm gonna definitely still be tuned in.
Okay. How long do you think you're gonna be able to join us, so I can make sure we kind of get through as much as possible and allow you to speak?
I should be able to join you just at least until like 10. But I'm gonna go ahead and get dressed and try to get to my destination. Because if I can go ahead and get there, then I can at least sit in the car and So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do and get rolling. But I'm still.
That sounds perfect. Hey, yeah, and if you're on the move, brother, if you could stay on while you're on the move, that's perfect. Yeah. If you got to jump off for a minute or whatever, that's perfect. So however it works best for you.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Later.
Case.
What's up, Justin?
What's good? How you doing? What's good, Leif? How you doing?
Doing well, bro. Doing well. How about yourself, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I remember, just to kind of refresh my memory, you said you had done some work in one aspect of the space, and now you're in a different aspect. Can you refresh my memory, brother?
Yeah, so started off in the Bitcoin space, built a wallet. We did that for about a year, and then we transitioned to all blockchain.
Got you. So kind of giving up on the money side and dealing more with the ledger side and trying to find different applications for that.
Exactly.
Blockchain.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, perfect. You're going to play a wonderful role in the dialogue, brother. We're going to kind of to the dialogue from a position of having, been in the space and seeing how different kinds of ideas are out there and projects. Some are successful, some not. Maybe even why you went from Bitcoin to more of a blockchain, concept, and like I said, using it as a service per se.
Yep.
Cool. That's cool. Justin, you already know, man. I know we're gonna go in, man. You're gonna have some interesting to say whenever they need to be said. I'm definitely, brothers, if you all want to shout out any brands that you have out there, definitely don't hesitate with that. That's not a problem. Like I said, I'm gonna give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves and kind of, their introduction into this space, and then we're just kind of carry the conversation, and you'll know to get in where you fit in. Everybody cool with that?
Yeah, that's what's up.
All right. Let me see what time it is. All right, so we're about 5 minutes after. I did have one more guest that may actually join by the name of Harry Rosenberg. He's a rabbi I think he's from New York, but he lives in Israel. He may end up joining us, he may not. But if he does, it will definitely be, some value added to the dialogue for sure, especially when we get into the enterprise part of the dialogue. But if he doesn't join us, I'm sure that we can hold our own. Not really an issue. And you said I'm lagging?
Yeah, froze for a sec.
Hey, y'all want to say something? I was hollering at Sinclair Skinner on LinkedIn, right? And Bill O'L.
Yeah.
You there?
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and I was telling him, I said, man, y'all do because he's doing BitMari with and doing like crowd fundraising and all that stuff in Zimbabwe. And these girls were talking like, everybody, we doing this, and Flint still got dirty water and shit. And I'm thinking like, yo, wait a minute. There's a way that, the Bitcoin community could fund some type of clean water system. Kind of like how on the last Expo, that dude was talking about the Sun Exchange and the Bitcoin community like rents, or they buy the solar panels for people, and they get small increments of Bitcoin back over time.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, there has to be some type of system that could be put in place for that, because there's no reason now for people to be like, well, they ain't got the money for this, they ain't got the money for that. And you got people like us out here who know about cryptocurrency to be like, well, shit, if they really want to change something, we'll just set up a community, make a big fund, or like it's mining or something. Have people, a lot of people feel like, well, if I put money in this, how I'm gonna get it back and shit. Then, like you put down some Bitcoin, you get some shit back over a time period or whatever. And I mean, just something. So I hit him up on that LinkedIn, and he was like, this sounds pretty interesting. He told me he gonna be in Charlotte like next weekend or next week, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I think there's going to be a place for that in the dialogue, actually, brother. So keep that fresh in mind, because you're probably going to hear me say something as I'm guiding the conversation. And like I said, you'll know where to actually put that in, and we can kind of even go into a little bit more details. I think a few of us might even have something to say about that.
Right.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's going to be a place for that in this dialogue. So, Free, what's good with the with us going live? Give us like a countdown. All right. So we're live right now. Just double checking with you. All right. Perfect. I just want to say welcome to everyone that's joining us. Definitely, it's a pleasure to be here presenting the Bitcoin Expo to you all. Some of you are new to Bitcoin, so definitely be ready to be learning some things right now. Some of you have been in the space for a while. Some value out of this as well. First thing I want to do, I'm D. Miller L, co-founder of the Moabit Association, as well as a senior consultant in the Moabit Exchange. Definitely kind of elaborate on those as we go into this dialogue a little bit. Is my co-founder for you there? Cool. All right, we have some guests with us as well that are going to kind of be in this dialogue. Again, for the listening audience, general admission. We want to make sure that you know who it is that are dialoguing, and then we're going to kind of move forward in our dialogue, an internal dialogue. So first, I want to introduce Lafe. Peace, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good. Name's Leif Taylor, part of Hydro, one of the co-founders. And what we do is we do trade assets, meaning that we tokenize invoices, put them on the blockchain, and then we resell them to funders.
Awesome. We also have Justin here with us.
Yeah, I'm Justin. I'm the owner and founder of Vegan on the Go in Charlotte. I cook and deliver vegan food. I do catering, pop-ups, vegan coaching. I recently, well, I'm gonna say employed, but I recently was signed on with the Moabit Exchange. I offer consultations, trades, and even Bitcoin coaching for a decentralized life.
Very good. Okay. I think we have two additional guests that may end up joining us later on in the dialogue. So definitely, if they do join us, we'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we'll continue on wherever we are in the dialogue. So the first thing that I want to do, not only for the brothers here, but also for the listening audience, is kind of just give a feel for what is the all donations are basically contributions to the Blexit project.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah. Like 850. Like yeah, I was about to say like 850, but I read 850, but on my phone the lowest I saw like 980 something. I was like, damn. Hmm. Well, I say this though. Um, yeah. It's like with this, the Winklevox ETF and the price going crazy. Yeah. Slowly but surely, mindsets are going to start seeing that Satoshi really knew what the hell he was doing when he built this.
You went to the gym.
All right. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I may have to kill my
Yeah.
video for just a moment, just so that I can at least come through clearly on the audio. What I would like to do first is have Brother Marquise kind of just introduce himself, and then we'll kind of move forward. I heard you guys talking about a couple of things, so we could just, like I said, pick it up from right there. Okay, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah. Peace, everybody. How's everybody going?
Good, good, good.
Doing excellent. Yes, I'm Marquise. 25 years old. Served 4.5 years in the military. I'm tutor teacher mentor here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's with kindergarten through 12th grade. I actually been tutoring and mentoring since 2010. As far as my passion is education, and as far as everything with Bitcoin, I just been studying it for a few years, been watching it. Like I said, I was a part of a financial education company, and they was actually had a few books on it in our back office that really shared information on Bitcoin. And this was around the time when it was around like 200 a coin. You know, I really wasn't too sure what it was, but I was still, really had my head on the swivel for it. And it's just coming back around full circle. So I've been all head first in the game. I've been showing people, sitting them down, helping them open up wallets, and even sending them, a few dollars so they can see how it works. I actually helped my 13-year-old nephew set his account up online because he's 13 years old. He's on the computer, so he actually set up his Bitcoin wallet. I walked him step by step, so that's really what I've been doing, just really educating people, showing what it's about, and, just inspiring people to actually do research on their own, and then, just tell them let's come work together.
That's cool. That's real cool. Can y'all hear me?
You guys, yeah. You guys have to bear with me. I'm traveling too, so.
Oh, that's not a problem, man. You're pressed, man. Like I said, you definitely got some value to add to this build. Let me kind of direct the conversation for a moment and get out of take. So, just speaking of Bitcoin in general, some current, and I think that these current events kind of speak to Bitcoin. I think that this kind of makes you look at it, for what it is, or maybe even trying to make of it. That I heard you talk like reference to the Bitcoin Jesus and the whole Bitcoin Unlimited debate, or whatever the case may be. And I think on top of that, and we can, guys, keep that in mind. I'm gonna kind of get this to you in two different levels. So we have the Bitcoin Unlimited, which may or may not cause an issue with people being able to properly as a be alternate current. This issue, which is a secondary issue, but I think still speaks to the brand of Bitcoin. You have Coinbase and the IRS requesting, personal information or what have you. And then you have, what is going on in China, something very similar there. Like me, I want to speak to the branding. Whoever would like to speak first. You have on the Bitcoin Unlimited, Coinbase, in the way in which it identifies its users, or I should say users of Bitcoin. China, and how they may be related to the floor, whatever y'all want to talk about and say.
Well, I've really been putting thoughts to this lately, and as we know what Bitcoin is, and as you and I talk, Miller L, the principle and base of what naturally attracts us to Bitcoin is decentralization. Period, point blank.
Yeah, that's
So,
facts.
with that being said, I even put on Twitter. I said, no matter what happens in Bitcoin, it will forever be decentralized. And I tagged Vinny, Linkham, and Roger Ver. You know what I'm saying? Just to let them know, like, whatever y'all do, guess what? it's still gonna stay decentralized. The whole model is. And for Coinbase and the Chinese government trying to implement regulations, it's like someone who is struggling to hold on for power and they're realizing they really can't. You know what I'm saying? There is no reason there is no reason for all the FUD that's going on to happen other than the simple fact of you're losing power and control. But they'll never actually lose power and control unless people don't realize what decentralization means. Like that's the real live deal. Like when you know what decentralization autonomy, no third parties, no regulations, when you know what that means, Coinbase and all of them can do whatever. But if you understand the fundamental rules of Bitcoin, that's just the show side. That's like the side that would get mainstream interested in it. But us here, it's like, we can move on with everyday life. Because at the end of the day, they can have the scaling issues, the transaction fees issues, but they've never had an issue with a breach of security. As far as like being watched and centralized and all that
Wow.
stuff.
That's a powerful yeah, I like that insight, brother. That makes a lot of sense to me, and I would definitely agree.
You know what I mean? Because just they don't. Like, they have
Oh
no
yeah.
control over it.
Yeah,
Honestly.
if you're good, yeah, we could pass it. Go ahead, Marquise.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah, I was just gonna pick it back off what Justin was saying, man, because that's exactly what we talk about, specifically decentralization. Because they trying to make something centralized, and that's another reason I found, I seen the post and I share with people 5 ways, to buy Bitcoin without putting in IDs because, so like exactly what Justin was saying, it gets no clearer than that.
That's real talk. That's real talk. Leif, what's the word on Bitcoin, brother?
Truthfully, man, I've not really been into Bitcoin as of much lately. I've been two heads down working. But one thing that I will say about it is it's really interesting from the standpoint that you have so many different kinds of people now entering the space. When I first got into Bitcoin, the only people that were really into it were like libertarians and like cypherpunks and those kind of things. It was really taking it was a hard time for it to go mainstream, and it still hasn't quite gotten there yet. It's picking up, which is why you get all of these regulatory issues coming in because you have money that has been kind of funneled into Bitcoin. So that's where the regulatory issues come in because before Wall Street and the Silicon Valley guys start putting money into it, nobody cared, right? So now that they're starting to care, then now all of these different scenarios are popping up in a variety of places. I know Justin talked about China and what the Chinese government is thinking about what could potentially do, right? You have the ETF scenario with the Winklevoss twins. You have currencies collapsing. Cyprus was like the first big one, right? And everybody started speculating on the pricing back then. So I don't know, man. There's so many different things going on in the space. It's really just a matter of time to see how all of this pans out. Because the one thing about Bitcoin in China that you still have to realize is the fact that they control everything there. And when you have such a large base of miners in China that control a lot of the flow in Bitcoin, they could really do some damage in terms of transactions, right? In terms of if they shut down, then you got 2 weeks that Bitcoin could literally go idle for a hard fork to take place, meaning that transactions within a 2 week time span would just go unnoticed, right? It wouldn't be picked up. So that's something to always think about. But if you stay in the currency, then it may not matter. It just really depends on how you're using Bitcoin and what your purposes are in the space. So for some people, it's awesome. It'd be great if it did a hard fork and just shut down a lot of the transactions. For other people, it would be a nightmare. Depends on where you come in the space and how you view it.
That's powerful. Leif, I actually got a follow-up for you. Based upon your background and what have you, and you can maybe elaborate a little bit online. Does it have anything to do, transition, if you will, Bitcoin focus to a more blockchain focus?
Well, the reason why me and my business partner, we transitioned away from Bitcoin was because we had when we first got into the space, like we were one of the first people to start using IDs for Bitcoin wallet. Like instead of having like the long hashes, we would pair it with a username. Also, we were very early on because I know Justin mentioned Vinny earlier. We worked with Gift. We were the first people to have gift cards within the wallet. So we had Gift in our wallet so people could buy Bitcoins and then use them in stores and things like that immediately. We worked with BitPay early on. We did some commercials. We talked with those guys early on. So because we were early and plus we were like the only two black dudes in the space at the time, we met a lot of the people and that's how we got our name out there. But one of the things that led us to transition out of Bitcoin was our hypothesis was companies needed an enterprise wallet, right? Think more like along the lines of BitGo. We were thinking that most of these companies, because they were so early in the space, a lot of them were using personal wallets for all of their Bitcoin purchases and whatnot. And so we were developing this product we call the Mothership, and basically it would be an enterprise style wallet for Bitcoin, so companies could basically control payroll and those kinds of things, and they could actually pin their Bitcoin to a dollar amount. And that was one of the things that we were focusing on early. And then when we got out in the valley, we had, hold on one second, let me shut my door. Sorry about that. Yeah, and so when we got out to the valley, one of the things that we did was start talking to companies to see, because we knew some of the Bitcoin companies out there, to see if they actually needed an enterprise wallet. And we realized that the product we were building had no customer base. It was either because we were too early or because it just wasn't the right product. So from there, we started thinking along the lines of pegging the really focusing in on pegging the Bitcoin value to a dollar, because it's hard to use it as a currency because people still try to get in and out of fiat. So we were trying to peg that to where companies could really make workflow capital and all those kinds of decisions. I'll try to speed it up. It's a long story. So from there, we really started zeroing in on what corporates needed, what companies needed. And also, we didn't believe that in terms of using Bitcoin as an asset, our early hypothesis was you didn't need a more than one Bitcoin in order to attach assets to a Bitcoin value, meaning that you could, the fact that you can break Bitcoin down to a bit means that you can use literally one Bitcoin to almost facilitate a currency in a sense, in terms of assets, in the sense of assets. So we went down that road, and then after talking with companies, we realized that there was a pain point in foreign currency exchange. And from the foreign currency exchange, we realized that there was an even bigger headache for companies in terms of working capital. So that's kind of how we zeroed in on blockchain. We didn't want to be in the currency space because when we were in Boost, the accelerator in Boost, there were like 25 other Bitcoin companies. And one of the issues that we saw early on was the fact that there was a liquidity issue in terms of getting in and out of Bitcoin. It's one thing when only a few people want to get out, but it's another thing when you have a couple thousand people that want to get in and out of the currency very quickly and there's no buyers. So that's, long story short, that's how we got into the blockchain space and transitioned out of Bitcoin.
Indeed. I want to touch back on that as we kind of go deeper into the conversation, Leif. I really appreciate, man, you going like into detail on that one. Just as a final word from myself on the subject, like I said, I feel that, I'm definitely a Bitcoin supporter, not only a blockchain supporter, but also a Bitcoin supporter. I do, recognize much of what Leif has said. with regards to the various applications of the Bitcoin, but specifically with the whole Bitcoin Unlimited. This is for, those that are new to the space and maybe unfamiliar with these types of things. Essentially, this has the potential to become a brand new altcoin that's going to be traded on these cryptocurrency exchanges. I guess you want to look out for that if you entertain that aspect of this space. But definitely take a look at it deeply. Two sides to the story. There's definitely two different agendas. As far as what tends to happen in the space, from my experience, people emotional about how they feel about the Bitcoin and how it should evolve or what have you. But I'm kind of one of those people where we're with it, and two, as long as Bitcoin continues to function on a transactional level, as long as it continues to function as a trusted ledger.
The issue that Laf was talking about, when you dealing with Bitcoin, whatever your initial reason is for being in it, you'll be like, oh yeah, if you like, this is why this is great, this is why this is great, but it's so much with Bitcoin, like it's its own university, to be honest with you. Like right about now, I'm learning how to trade, you know what I mean? Like trade online and just try to read charts and take it to a level of how can I make Bitcoin off of Bitcoin without using USD to purchase Bitcoin? Like if it's one of those pump or dump situations, like all right, so we could since you said about different coins and currencies, well, coin or currency, I'm gonna speak on Dash. So it was I was watching Bitcoin Meister. He had Amanda B. Johnson on there, and she's taking shots at Bitcoin, like trying to do the traditional way of speaking up a coin's value and knocking someone else down. Just some old, what I call old centralized ways type of doing something. You know what I mean? Like something that just looks cheesy. Like, yeah, we gonna be better than Bitcoin. We gonna do this. We want to be this. So I'm listening to her, and other people are commenting, getting upset, mad. Like, why is she talking about Bitcoin? In my head, I'm thinking, why are y'all so attached to it? But what I'm saying is, like, they didn't really listen. She's like, well, we want to be like digital money. We want to be like for your grandmama and your mama to use them, and people who read. She was saying people that write papers that are in the crypto space, they already know what Dash is anyway. So basically, what I took from that is, she's right. We know that Dash is nothing more than what you wanted to be called digital money. And if that's the case, then it's not a long-term hold. You know what I mean? It's not a storage of value as Bitcoin is. Another issue that's been coming up with me lately, people saying, well, they only gonna have 21 million coins. That ain't enough for everybody. I said, man, have you seen how they can break down one Bitcoin into 8 different pieces? I said, and then you want to say that don't hold no weight to value. Well, let's take comparison of Dash and Bitcoin. we all know that Bitcoin will end up making 21 million coins once it's all said and done, right? Dash might have an unlimited amount of numbers, but that's where the value lies within Bitcoin. Value lies in scarcity. You know what I'm saying? Like gold, like land, like clean water. You know what I'm saying? Like that's scarce. You got to pay for that.
Hey,
Fiat, the dollar.
I just wanted to add real quick. Let me add on to that. Um, you were talking like land. Just to throw some numbers out there, like again, quarter after quarter, for the last 2 quarters, we're looking at like a little bit more than a 20% crashing in the real estate. So,
Mhm.
again, store value, right? I think it's always been known in essence, or at least most people understand one of the first things you want to kind of put your money in, financially speaking, and diversifying your wealth is in real estate. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. But, and I want to also add this, for the sake of transacting, kind of even talking about this scaling issue, maybe this is why in this space, these altcoins have a place. Maybe that's why they even exist. I think I heard what you were saying about, Dash. And I think Monero should also be brought up. And I wonder if, we should consider the idea of, okay, maybe there are better currencies, or excuse me, maybe there are better, chains for transactions as opposed to storing value, right? Because a lot
Right.
of people on the planet are running to Bitcoin in the various parts of the planet, especially where there's upheavals or what have you, to Bitcoin as a store of value. I'm not sure that the transacting in business is necessarily the case at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you go ahead, and if anybody else, I guess my final thought on it, and Leif, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to say on some of these other projects in the space and how they're attempting to be a currency or what have you, but especially for the listening audience, and definitely to you brothers that got Bitcoin, like be mindful of the wallet and hold your own Bitcoin. Like especially when we again just kind of reflecting back on the Coinbase, the China scenario with the surveillance. My thing is you have to have a wallet, and you got to acquire your Bitcoin, the old fashioned way. You want the wallet that is under your control so that you have the Bitcoin in your possession and not, held by a third party. Leif, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you the last word, family, if you have anything to say.
Yeah. So going back to some of the earlier comments, actually, I want to backtrack to all the way to the beginning when Justin was talking about the security of Bitcoin. I would agree wholeheartedly that Bitcoin is the one thing that has not been breached. So from a security standpoint, it's definitely top of the line. Period. In terms of some of these other cryptocurrencies, I don't know, man. I'm of the mindset that okay, when you're in a disruptive space, anything can happen, and if you're open to anything happening, then there's no telling, what I put no limits on other people's ideas or technologies and what will come to the forefront. Right now, Bitcoin is king supreme. However, I'm not of the mindset that it can't be disrupted either. The fact that Bitcoin has been invented, the fact that Satoshi, the person or the group, has made Bitcoin what it is, uh, they've released that information to the world, and the world can now beyond what Satoshi even probably dreamt up. So I'm not quite sure where it will go. I just know that cryptocurrency is probably here to stay in one form or another. In terms of what my man D was talking about in terms of wallets, I agree wholeheartedly. If we were still maintaining our wallet, I would promote our wallet because what we did with our wallet was we allowed people to control their own keys. In that way, they had total control over their Bitcoin. The plus side of that is nobody can shut you out of your money. The downside of that is if you're not good with security, or if you're not good with keeping up with information, then you can lose your money as well. So there's always pros and cons to all of this. Technology is super young right now, so sky's the limit in terms of what what can become, what will be. I think even with all this decentralization, there will be banks still around because not everybody can control their own money at the moment. Yeah. I'm not even, yeah, bro. I'm not even talking in terms of the way banks currently work. I'm just talking in terms of like the fact that you like that even people with money have financial advisors, right? People that manage those things. That's kind of where I'm talking about. I'm not necessarily talking about the big bank structures that we currently have. It's just, you know, and plus applications are still young in the space, so there may be wallets so easy to use and so unencumbered to where anybody can keep track of all of their information with no worries. So who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Am I coming through clearly?
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right. So, kind of more into the enterprise, commerce. Uh, this is again the Moabit Exchange. And we're trying to hold firm to the idea of decentralization. And what we're talking about is not only in the principle, but in the practice. So the nature of the Moabit Exchange is, again, it's kind of a formless thing. It's a thing that I don't know. I think I once heard a term, and I think it describes it: temporary autonomous zone. And what it really, economic standpoint, is free trade. The ability to interact peer to peer, and on the global scene, we'll just say interesting. You have a G20 summit where they're kind of removing the free trade agreement. Here in the U.S. specifically, we know that we're having some issues with Mexico, the specific Pacific, trade agreement did away with that. So it looks like, again, taxation is going to become as we move forward all over the planet. And, again, I think what this kind of represents, again, is a step. And it is definitely not going to alleviate all issues with regards to trade right now. But, I think that we have the first step. And, even as Leif was just describing, one of the things that we do is not only do we buy and sell Bitcoin, and anybody could do that. Definitely doesn't require that, you have anything more than just the know-how to do it. And then beyond that, the consultations. This is a very real thing. And for all the listeners and you brothers on the line, I know that I've definitely I've been able to kind of carve a little niche and like really, really between buying and selling Bitcoin. And I mean, just as an independent trader, uh, as well as some of the other activities that I'm involved in, whether it's the consultations, teaching people how to set up a wallet, walking them through that process and what have you. I know Marquise is not with us anymore, but he was talking about that as well. And that's an opportunity that anybody who's willing to do the work can take advantage of, right? So I definitely want to kind of just put that out there. I want you brothers, once I pass the mic, to kind of give us your thought on what's going on with regards to trade. And I think the final thing I want to give to the family is like, hey, it is very early, but the dynamic of the technology is amazing. And what I want to kind of put forth is again, just a little basic idea of some of the things that could be done. Definitely start a crowd fund. It is simple as you having social media and friends, and getting a Bitcoin wallet. do it as a group. Get a multi-sig wallet. It function to something like a partnership with regards to finance. And then, last but not least, I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about, legislation. And my thought is that, a lot of that we experiencing in the Bitcoin space have to do with the square peg round hole, if you will. I know that legislation, the current structures that are available for you to take form as, I don't know if that really works in this space. I know that Leif is definitely transitioning in a different way to figure out how it can. Here again, some more insight from you, brother. For me, I've learned that today crypto, kind of practice. As long as you stay inside of Bitcoin or some of the other cryptocurrencies and handle certain things, the better. But when you have to start going back and forth, issues. So it's possible.
I like the idea of so on, and I myself, when I was introduced to Bitcoin, I've only been introduced to Bitcoin not even a whole year. You know what I'm saying? July 2016. But I invested a lot of knowledge into this, and as you keep going down the rabbit hole, you get attracted to people. Like I met all of you through just being involved in Bitcoin. That's the law of attraction. But when you start going to dig a bit deeper, you really start understanding what people say, what it means when people say I accept Bitcoin. Because from a consumer centralized mind point of view, someone who's just not even into the space, so someone who's barely into the space, they're here. Oh, okay, yeah, you accept Bitcoin. Okay, that's cool. Whatever. Go on about their way. But when you really break down what it means for someone to say I accept Bitcoin, and they know what they mean when they're saying it, you look at them a bit like, okay, so now we have a meeting of understanding of what it means to really exchange currency. Because you could tell people all day, yeah, just start accepting Bitcoin. And they're like, oh, okay, well, it's just like PayPal or whatever, whatever, whatever. And so you really, and it can get so deep that I'm not even sure if you should speak it aloud. But I'm just saying, when someone tells you they accept Bitcoin and you start going with all the security, because really last week I learned a lot about Bitcoin security on your devices, all this, and then you start really understanding with that, like why people just say, hey, look, I just accept Bitcoin. You have a lot of open markets out there, and by accepting Bitcoin, you accept decentralization. I think Life could back me up when I say this. People still think that the government own the internet, and I'm gonna break it. I can say it to you as like Reggie Militant said, and I'll always hear him say this. He says the technology of Bitcoin is so valuable that it'll never go nowhere. So just the technology of Bitcoin alone is what's gonna keep this new age afloat. Like, I mean, it's just that valuable, man. And I can get caught up in looking at the price here or the price there, but at the end of the day, it's the value of how you can now what peer-to-peer really means. I had to actually go look back and read the white paper, and nowhere in that white paper did I see a currency. Only thing it talked about was an electronic cash system. And the people, you don't necessarily want to go up to them and say this is an electronic cash system. Okay, so what's that? Well, it's a currency. Okay, so what's that? You really this is when Miller L said about consultations. For someone to actually get good knowledge and wisdom of this, you don't want to tell them all this for free, man, because you took a lot. You took a lot out yourself to learn. Too much out yourself to learn. But
Again, I'm not sure if it came across earlier or if I was breaking out, but the idea here is the bigger issue is free trade. But also I think that on a microcosmic level, we have the idea of enterprise itself. And I want Leif to kind of go in a little bit more on utilizing the difference between the Bitcoin and the blockchain and trying to monetize the technology. Because I think that's what we're talking about right now on a micro level, but on a macro level, it's a step forward from having to deal with these political issues, trade agreements, and what have you.
Yeah. So from an enterprise level, and even talking about some of the issues concerning that. So for us, what we've done in terms of the enterprise space is recently we've done a pivot in the way we've been marketing it, right? So early on, we started marketing the grandiose view of how blockchain can benefit financial technology, right? The issue with that is that as old as some of these systems are, they work good enough, if that makes any sense. So for them, there's like, for any type of disruption when you go into an industry, most people want to shun it because that means that some of the things that they do and some of the people that operate those specific areas become obsolete. So we learned early on that it was a long sales cycle from the standpoint of one, convincing organizations that they should utilize blockchain technology, and two, getting them to understand how it will disrupt and basically make a lot of their practices obsolete in the long term. So what we've done is almost the same approach that you would take, as my man Moab was saying earlier, is simplifying a lot of the processes and getting rid of all the geeky stuff out of it, right? Just eliminating, breaking it down to its bare minimum of what it does. We always liken it to email, right? You can use email. 99.9% of the people that use email don't understand how it works, but it doesn't matter. It just works. So that's kind of the way that selling the enterprise side of using blockchain in terms of finance. In terms of politics, politics won't go away, man. As long as people exist, politics will exist as well. And no matter how good a technology is, the human factor is always the biggest aspect of moving anything forward. Humans disrupt technology. Technology disrupts work. Humans disrupt technology, and the fact that people don't want to change, or they have certain agendas that make them not want to change for any given reason. So politics won't go away. The trade is free trade. As long as there's governments, there will always be something to stop that in its entirety. So that's, yeah, I mean, it's here. Again, like I said, I'm always open to what the future may bring. It may get rid of some of these regulatory issues and some of the greed factor, but as of now, humans still exist. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, no, you're right, because it's like you got to just break down to the basics. At the end of the day, if a package comes in and out and has to go through a customs or what have you, you're gonna be dealing with the quote unquote trade agreements or what have you. So that part is, as we move forward, like you said, in time, we kind of acknowledge this movement, or at least we see something in the things with regard, it's not only a decentralized future, but it's a digitized future.
Yep.
goods and services, especially what you're doing, Leif, are digitized. We're going to see, because that's what the Bitcoin little experiment is all about. We've never been able to have a piece of digital property per se. It's always been a copy. That within itself, however we figure this thing out, as a humanity, so be it.
Yep.
Just kind of getting back to it. I think this also reminds us that dependent also means really, really kind of building up your skills, and being able to kind of provide certain things for yourself, kind of even reminding one of community. You can't do everything for yourself, but sake of kind of, or I should say in the spirit of this technology, as far as I'm concerned, there's this autonomy, or independence associated with it. I just think that all of that really plays a part, you know what I'm saying, in this. I think that it's just moving more in that direction, to kind of do things more, again, in a decentralized manner, more in like communities. Who knows what the future really may bring, but what I see is a more decentralized, digitized world. Smaller communities will provide certain things for themselves, but I think other things, like I said, as it becomes more digital, it'll be harder and harder influence from a lot of the current political states that exist. You know what I'm saying? I know I was a mouthful, but anybody else with any final comments? And then I guess we'll move towards the close.
Yeah, can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things that like in what you said, and I was even thinking about some of the things that Justin said earlier, is kind of the conundrum that that cryptocurrencies face, is the fact that that is decentralized, meaning that even the people that got it going, they have no control over it. And I think that's the whole issue that you see right now playing out in terms of talking about the forks, is the fact that people always want to control something. It sounds great in the beginning until you have a great foothold in it, and then you don't want it to be as free as you wanted it to be in the beginning before you had a lot. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the conundrum that people always, find themselves in, and it's really interesting. Going back to what you were saying, D, is the fact that that this digitized, decentralized era is coming regardless of what anybody can do, and the hardest thing for people to do is let go of controls, and what manner that comes for different people. But letting go of control is one of the hardest things for people to do. And this type of currency, this type of age is really putting a strain on those kinds of thoughts and concerns. And the fact that now not only is your money free, but all assets are free to come and go as we so choose. And that in and of itself is very scary for a lot of people.
I don't mean to laugh, man. I just don't know what. I mean, I know it's scary for some people, and I'm not laughing at your thought neither.
No, I feel you, bro.
And what I'm really laughing at is the fact that you do have people that's fearful of themselves. When it comes down to it, they're fearful of themselves. Like, you can actually sit here and tell them, you can break down decentralization. You can break down the lifestyle. You can break down this. You can show them how to spend it. You can show them why you shouldn't spend it. You can show them why, just for instance, say you're sitting on 50 Bitcoins, Bitcoin don't move that fast. Dash now has a digicard through some other company. You can spend it through Dash. You know what I'm saying? You can show them all of this, but the fact will remain the same. And I'm starting to learn, people don't want that much freedom. It's not even the fact that they don't want it. They can't comprehend that being given to them. You go to everybody but yourself.
Yo,
And
I just wanted to, you know what, man? Like this again. This really is what the Blexit is. You know what y'all have been saying and what I've been hearing. At least, you know what it's translating is like. So first off, this is like about relationships. This is about people. You know what I'm saying? This is about mentality. And you know, we're talking about an exit. And like you said, brother Leif, you know, it's not a situation of, you know, are things working well enough? You know, I think that what we might want to look at is like, you know, if we had an internal policy as a people, right, in this country, like kind of like, you know, the various other ethnicities, they have nationality, so they think of themselves as a group. And my thing is, as a group, economically, we need to think about, you know, the nature of our situation. You know what I mean? We're poverty stricken. So, okay, you know, I think it's time for us to think about it because we got a lot of spending power. It's just that this thing work for us. So long as that, you know, it's a self-esteem issue, right? It's a self-esteem issue. These controlling issues that human beings have. And like you said, it shows a lack of maturity. This in relationships and they don't last long, you know? So the idea here is okay, well, what if it's not a good one though? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if people just want to do what they want to do? Is it that you know, try to shame them into not doing it or tell them not to do it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to let people go. You got to let people do what they're going to do. So if they want to do a Bitcoin unlimited, you do your Bitcoin unlimited and God bless you. You know what I mean? And it's the same with us. You know, if a relationship is not good for us here, and we need to be thinking about other ways in which we can build up an economic base because it takes finance. You know, whatever it is you're trying to do, it takes finance. The idea in any relationship, the greatest point of leverage is being able to walk away. You know, and if you're so codependent that you can't walk away, well, then that explains, you know, why you're going to continue down that road. Because, you know, and again, that's insanity. You know, I think we was kind of laughing at it and chuckling at it and then maybe even trying to have compassion for it. But what I truly see, and again, what the Blexit represents is, again, a different mind state, a different mind state. And we see it being demonstrated on the planet. So it's not as if, you know, it's not as if this is just a ideal. We do see this being demonstrated. And I think that, you know, the position that we have in the world, they say, you know, we have the spending power of like the seventh largest nation. We could learn to cooperate, right? This could be very, very powerful. This could be very, very, very powerful. So, you know, again, this is what it's about. You know, people got to have, want to, you know, do well, knowledge yourself. You know, you know, make yourself better, be striving for that. And I think that this will be a natural, you know what I'm saying, in time, easier for you to even stomach the concept. And this is again for the general, you know, listeners.
there was some I was on Twitter and I saw the guy Tom Mays saying he was saying something in Bitcore core develops I still trust as they are still as they are last decentralized group defending censorship resistant value transfer hashtag POW rules may change. And it's like he put a Bitcoin proof of work upgrade initiative. And I believe the brother Loft could read this and depict it better than I can. But judging by the critics and the comments, I really don't know what to make of it. This is why I sent it to the group. I'm just gonna be completely honest. I haven't even had time to really read it over.
Yeah, man. I think that we could definitely find a comment. I want to first from just I'm gonna give them the final words. Um, you know, so at the end of the day, I think that definitely very good. For people, our people specifically, definitely empowering ways in many, and I think that's the. You know what I mean? We need healthy relations. I think what we're talking about regards to Bitcoin is just its growth, as well. And it's got its growing pains. And I think that it's going to see itself to see itself through as well. Crossroad. Today, okay, I'm gonna just end it with this. Am I coming clear? Okay. I'm gonna wrap it up with this, and I'm just gonna say that look out for the third quarter Expo. This is definitely, like I said, we're gonna be bringing to you definitely some information that you can from to best practices. Definitely tune in. Bring a friend. If you want to actually join the panel, there's an option for that as well on Facebook through the MBA Circle of Peers. We search that group out on Facebook. Have a lot of information there. We try to filter out a lot of the sensationalism and try to keep it strictly to what's going on, current events. So definitely reach out. That's how we can be found. Definitely get you up to speed if you'd like to engage with us and do some of the things that you heard today. I'm sure that Leif is available. Justin may be available on Facebook as well. There may be info. Any final words from you brothers about the health of the technology and the health of just like humanity itself? Just some final words for the listening audience.
Well, I'll go first. And the health of technology of Bitcoin, I mean, like we said, man, it's set in stone. The Bitcoin itself, the tech, like how Reggie Milton says, the big B, the Bitcoin blockchain technology, it's set in stone. And even if I can just say this of why I bring up Reggie Milton, he does a great job with cutting out the media FUD and showing you the two differences of Bitcoin, which is, like we said, the Bitcoin blockchain technology, the capital B. And you got the application that was built on top of that blockchain, which is the currency, which is small b Bitcoin. The technology ain't going nowhere, period. I don't even see the currency going anywhere. The price of Bitcoin can go down to $200 a day. You know what everybody gonna do. That's crypto. Everybody in the crypto space gonna know what they're supposed to do. Matter of fact, I don't see it going anywhere. The technology don't go nowhere. Even if nothing is bought on by mainstream, it's not going nowhere. And so once people start understanding this, once the switch clicks off in people's heads, like how some people out here in certain groups preach privacy, preach uh overall power of yourself. Once those messages keep getting pushed in these people's heads, and once we continue pushing the message of decentralization, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, somewhere along the line in their mind, an eruption is going to take place, and they're going to be like, "Oh man, I really see what they've talked about for all these years," and now they'll be able to see, all right, so now I can actually live my life in the ways that a lot of these people in these groups are talking, but they aren't producing.
Hey, brother, can you mention the BitMari piece real quick? I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know you wanted to say something on that before Leif gets on the mic. Yeah, you said you was in contact with Brother Skinner. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I had contacted I've been talking to Sinclair, Brother Sinclair, for a while on LinkedIn, and someone was talking about Flint, Michigan, and some homegirls of mine talking about the state of Flint and how they still don't have clean water, developed water. All this is going on, and I was thinking in my head like, why is it that I took it upon myself to say, why is it that you know all this about Bitcoin, but you aren't thinking outside the box? So I messaged Sinclair Skinner, and then he's doing a lot of work with the Zimbabwe farmers and the people out of Zimbabwe. He's done a lot of other crowd funds to raise money for certain organizations. And so I was running by him if there's a way BitMart could do somewhat of a mining model for the Flint water system situation, where the Bitcoin community puts money into, let's just say, Bitcoin Flint, Michigan water system fund. And they all receive small increments of Bitcoin, whether it's for life or, over a 3 to 5 year period, that's going to compensate them on their investment plus a return. Sort of how on the last Expo when Sean, or I think it was a sister from Canada, Naabi, she was saying the Sun Exchange, where the Bitcoin community, we essentially buy the solar panels, and that's renting out the space for schools to use them. That same model should be used as far as any crisis, not just Flint, but any crisis throughout the world. This is how powerful Bitcoin is. This is when you say decentralization holds weight. Because all you need is a developer and someone to say, all right, I like it. And that's it. No one else needs to be addressed about it. But those are my closing statements.
If anything from you?
Yeah, so the initial question was, what do I think about the state of the technology, Bitcoin? As Justin said, man, it's here to stay. Once it was invented, once it got out, people wrap their minds around it, and some people are creating some cool things out there right now. I think it'll just grow once more and more people become aware of it. Like Justin said, it's almost a self-awareness thing. Once you understand the capabilities and the possibilities, and that's when you'll see more and more things grow. For me, me and my business partner, like when we first got into Bitcoin, this is back in 2014 when we started actually going around to different places. One of the things that was our gospel, so to speak, in the space was the diversity in blockchain and Bitcoin space, because there are problems out there, as he was talking about, like with the sun, with people doing the solar sharing and those kinds of things. There's possibilities out there that we've never even thought of because we don't have the same problems as everybody else. So once it gets into the hands of more and more people, once people start understanding what the technology can do, then I think you'll see an explosion in cryptocurrency as a whole. You'll see an explosion in Bitcoin prices potentially, depending on where it is. Like I said, I don't know one way or the other in terms of value, in terms of price. The security of Bitcoin is there. It's solid. Right now is the most solid cryptocurrency in existence. So I don't know. Sky's the limit, man. I'm always hopeful about the future. I'm always hopeful about humanity. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be here, man. I wouldn't be pushing and moving ahead. You know what I'm saying? So eventually, when it gets into the hands of my kids and kids beyond that, and just the hands of everybody, man, once you actually add some real diversity to Bitcoin other than white and Asian faces, I think you'll see it.
Oh, damn, I've left.